right, good afternoon. Looking forward to sitting down with Jeff and talking to all of you guys about the future of freight audit and pay. But before we get there, we thought it would be helpful to start with, kind of where have we come from, where are we at today, and how do we see that transitioning to where we might be in the near future. And I think adding some topics around some of the technologies that are now available, some of the customer interest and demand. So we'll get to all that, I promise. But before we do, Jeff, want to give you an opportunity to share with the audience and those who maybe aren't as familiar with CAS. Who is CAS and how are you guys a part of this?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Brad. When you look at CAS, I mean, we've been in business for quite a while. Started as a bank back in the early 1900s, and then got into the freight audit and payment business in 1956, actually. So we've been here for a long duration. And when you kind of look at that business from that aspect here, overall, it's a very foundational business process outsource solution, right? You're taking in freight bills and auditing and processing them and making the payment and everything here too. But the way we kind of look at it though too, CAS over the years has been growing in quite a few different ways too. One of the things that if you look at CAS compared to the marketplace is that we are actually a federally regulated solution because we do have a commercial bank underneath us. And then from that aspect here too, we also do offer a number of different areas where we've been growing into along the way here too. We are also unique in the fact that we do all the modes and we're also global. Mm-hmm. And so multiple currencies. And so we really can address a lot of the needs of the large Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 customers, which are our customer base for the most part.
Definitely. And as far as the solutions you guys have provided and what your customers ask for and need from you guys, how have you seen that change? And in your time, you've been a few different places, in this space. Yeah, I consider you an expert in this for sure. So I'm just curious, how you've seen that progress over the last.
It's been interesting. I've had an opportunity to sit on both the shipper side and the carrier side prior to joining another provider back in 1997, where we developed a unique freight payment solution at that time. And when I kind of look at that point, it was still basically, I'll say, foundational pieces that companies were looking for. And what I mean by that is they were still looking for those companies to come in and do the audit and the processing and the payment. Really what I'm seeing though now too is it's really kind of a lot of companies that are looking that we're seeing in the marketplace are looking at what can you do for me more on a proactive aspect here too. What other value can you deliver to me here, whether that becomes kind of in better data, and better understanding of our lanes and everything here too. I always look at with the freight bill payment situation, it's the fact that we are processing that bill and we are the kind of final source of truth because we know what that true cost was. Mm-hmm. And now when we work with our clients, I always tell them, don't let us just pay your freight bills. Let's use that data then to really understand what's happening in your marketplace. And that's really been a big focus for us here lately and a big focus for a lot of our clients here too.
Definitely. And in that transition, have you seen that has that been more customer driven, or have you guys seen that as an opportunity to say, hey, we've got a lot of good insights and information and things, other things we can provide. How is that?
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's been a combination of both in some ways too, right? We definitely see our needs from our customers and what they're looking for, and then we also try to anticipate where they're going. And again, kind of from the analytics and data standpoint, we'll process almost $40 billion per year, and so there's a lot of good quality data that is being provided. And so really kind of whether it's the monthly CAS freight index that we have, that talks about really what's happening within the trucking industry, or whether, again, it's the data that we can provide our customers. We also have a kind of a version of benchmarking, which basically involves about 200 of our 300 clients taking some of their data to provide customers the opportunity to kind of see from a region to a region. So again, more driven from that aspect here.
Definitely. And as you've seen, is it fair to say that initially or in the early days it was more completing a task was really the goal? Is that fair?
Yeah, it really is. It was more about what cost can you take out of my system, right? And when I say cost, I'm talking about more FTEs, different folks like that and everything here. Now it's really becoming more what value can you deliver to us as a company. And I think that's where CAS has really been focused here, especially over the last couple of years, is really going, we have that strong foundation, but now what other value can we bring to our shippers and our carriers? Our carriers are also our customers too.
Definitely. And so what are some of those core things that you guys are seeing, along those lines.
Yeah, it's been interesting journey here over the last couple years and everything here too. We've been building out some different solutions here. Obviously, back in June, we announced a strategic exclusive partnership with you guys. Very, very excited about that because it allows our customers to kind of take their data, pull it into Sonar SCI, and really analyze it on a granular level. And so that's we're seeing a lot of significant interest there, and really kind of a look at the analytics part then too. And I say they're really taking advantage of their data. And again, I think that's where the big advantage is for them. The other part here too is we are seeing the opportunity for shippers are starting to move out shipping terms from say 30 days to 60 to 90 to 120 days, which having been in this industry for quite a while, I never thought I would see. And so what's happening then too is that these carriers are also in a cash flow crunch a lot of times. But we also know that we've got our clients that are very well credit qualified. And so we've developed and launched a product called Amplify by CAS. It's a working capital solution that allows a carrier to be paid in as little as 2 days, but for us to allow the shipper to reimburse us in say 30, 60, 90, or even 120 days. And so providing a working capital solution, while at the same time the carrier is also receiving a very competitive rate for the payment and not having to tap into like their bank line of credit or some other solutions or factoring. And so we're very excited about that. We're seeing a lot of good interest and activity in that area too.
Definitely. And it seems the trend continues to be, and we work in a slightly different space, of course, but it seems the trend continues to be, how can we take, what has been maybe a cost center, or something that hasn't really driven business value necessarily, and how can we take that and turn it into, value for our team and for the broader business. So, with that in mind, what other parts of the business are you guys seeing that are starting to access and starting to, pay attention to, the freight audit pay side of things and say, hey, this is helpful to us as well.
Yeah, that's interesting too, because I kind of look at, when I started back in the late 90s and everything in this industry, a lot of times we were just dealing strictly with a logistics person or something like that here too. Now we're also talking a lot of times to a treasurer, assistant treasurer, CFO even of some of these major companies. And again, it's really not, it's them understanding too that it's not just the cost associated with it, but where's the value opportunity to, be able to pick up from it and everything too. And so that's been a big driver here lately as far as kind of just who we're talking to is different and where the drivers are. Again, it's really, the key word I always look at is what value can we deliver?
Yeah.
Right, because I always want to be a strong freight audit and payment provider, but at the same time though too, it's like what other value can we bring to the marketplace here?
Definitely, and we couldn't start to talk about the future if we didn't say AI.
Yes.
Right.
AI.
I feel like I was talking to someone earlier this week and saying, I think it was 7 years ago, 8 years ago, someone's going to correct me. One of our first events, blockchain was the biggest thing, right? And there's been some application, some use case, but I think, for the most part, we haven't seen maybe all the buzz that got. It hasn't quite delivered, at least not yet. I'm personally a little more bullish on especially being in the supply chain space, what we can do with AI, machine learning, some of those things. So I'm bullish about that, but I'm curious. I'm curious your viewpoint, because I think there's, like we talked backstage, I think there's definitely application.
Yep.
So maybe I'll ask you, I promise I'll get to a question here. Maybe I'll ask you a two-part question though. What are your general feelings? And then maybe what do you see as the initial application that is real and that, we can all look at and say, okay, that's actually, worthwhile and adding to the business. It's something attainable, right?
No, it's a great question here. Really at CAS in particular, I mean, we are very focused on AI and machine learning and everything here too. We've had a history of using OCR for, processing a lot of the paper bills and everything here too. We're taking it to that next level again. And that to me is the key. And so we've elected to partner with some key folks in the AI industry and really looking at some different areas. I mean, one, just really how do we better process and ingest some of these invoices, especially when they come in, let's say by paper or something else along those lines here too. So that the quality of the data is cleaner and the process takes place, more effectively and everything here too. And it's really at the level within our company where our CEO and president are 100% focused on, kind of how do we use AI and ML. I kind of look at it, I think we're at some baby steps more or less right now at this point, as we learn how to use AI for, whether it's some communication to the customers or just, kind of better processing. But I think there's many, many more opportunities as we go down the road though too at the same time.
Definitely. And I know another thing we talked about too is, what do you think the opportunity is around, taking something that's been, like we said, task oriented. We're going to process bill. We're going to, we're going to audit. We're going to manage exceptions. What do you think the opportunity is, you know, legitimately in the business in the near term to be predictive around some of those things?
That's a great question here too. I mean, and predictive analytics to me is kind of the end state, is where we want to try to go, right? It's great to know today and in the past, but where we're going. And I know there's a lot of folks kind of working on that part here too. It's one of the reasons too, whether we look at you guys and sort of say we decided to partner with you, because we kind of look at it and say, I can't necessarily build something like that, but maybe there's partners such as yourself that we can work with and go on that journey, right? Because it's a journey, and we'll see if we get there. But I mean, to me, the predictive analytics too, whether it's just a small snapshot of what's going on at that particular time or for the next, say, month or something like that, it'll be a great guideline. It'll just let us make smarter decisions after it's all said and done. And will it be 100% perfect? No. But at least we have some more guidance and guardrails there to really kind of help focus on where we should be, really taking a look at it within the supply chain.
Definitely. And so for those in the audience that maybe aren't currently, utilizing a freight audit, pay provider, or, are potentially curious in other ways that they can basically, be more effective. Let's say, what are some of the things that you might mention to consider? And, I think one thing that sticks out to me is how can you put your money to work for you, right?
Yep.
So, what are some of those things that you might recommend, or, some things you might mention to consider as, various individuals are looking for, solutions like this?
Absolutely. First of all, understand what it is you're trying to accomplish. Right. If you're just looking for somebody to process some freight bills and you're kind of lower volume and everything here too, look for that type of provider. But what I'm really seeing over the last couple of years though too is almost like a barbell effect that's taking place here. You see a lot of small and mid-sized freight audit and payment providers that can't afford to invest in the technology and the resources and everything here too. And so they're kind of falling to the one side. You've got ourselves and a couple of others that have the resources and the vision to invest into kind of the future. Technology, the working capital aspects and everything here too. After it's all said and done, I think you're going to see kind of a real divide. I don't think you're going to see much in the middle as far as kind of the types of providers out there. So like I said, understand what you're looking for, and don't always look at the cheapest. Look at the greatest value.
Sure.
Because sometimes really it might cost a few cents more, but if it delivers another $1 million, $2 million, $3 million of value, it's worth that investment.
No, absolutely. And yeah, I know. I think the future of freight audit is here. Is that fair to say?
It's here, and it's moving fast right now at this point too, right? And it's a matter of kind of who can navigate that road the best and everything here too. It's been interesting too, because again, in the past, international was not a major thing.
Sure.
And now we are seeing, whether it's EMEA or LATAM or APAC, really come into play a lot more. Again, also so people can understand the overall global supply chain costs that they're dealing with too.
Yep. And so when you think about some of the major things, driving actionable insights, I think is one thing that I heard that is requested. I think, being able to leverage AI is certainly one. One that we can maybe spend the next few minutes before we wrap up on, that we haven't quite touched on, that I think is also, it's been important and will continue to be, is, leveraging or being able to provide insight around, the ESG, initiatives for some companies. So how do you see that fitting? Again, I think another one that's, it's been important for a while, right?
Yep.
And I think there's some companies that are very far along in various places and being able to put something on the table and say we're doing something about this. But I think there's still a lot of opportunity there, and people, doing things where there's use cases in play to show that they're, basically, performing to those levels versus just, delivering a pitch deck to say, here's what we're going to do. So, with that being said, how does that fit into, we need to use AI, that's an important initiative for us, this as well. Maybe I think they certainly work together, but I'm curious how you see that playing in as well.
Yeah, I think too, especially again, as we kind of capture all this data and everything here too, what we're able to see then too, and we've launched some different solutions here for CO2 with a couple of companies and everything here too. And like you said, each company is unique in what they're looking for too, right? And especially too, as you start to employ some of the technology, and again, we've got the data, and so we understand kind of as a truck traveling 500 miles, and kind of here's what should apply as far as the carbon emissions and ESG and everything here too. And so we kind of see it as a nice value add for the customers. Right now, we've got several that are talking to us about it and want something. I think the interesting part is going to be how do they, I'll say it this way, value it, right?
Sure.
You know, it becomes kind of more of a corporate responsibility thing. Hard to attach a dollar amount to it.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something though that people want to have though at the same time though too.
Yeah. So is it fair to say you're really only seeing action if there's dollars assigned to it and say we have to do this by, and otherwise it's just kind of discovery.
It's discovery still right now at this point. Now with that said, I'd say it's still relatively in its infancy. It's only a year or two old or something like that.
Sure.
And so as it does continue, we'll kind of see where it goes from that aspect here. But I think it'll keep being a topic though for a while.
Definitely. Well, I think as we wrap up here, like I think it's a very exciting time, in freight audit pay. I think it's something where the technology is really catching up and is going to allow for some really cool things to be done. So I'm excited to see, the path that it takes and watch you guys, as well, take advantage of it ultimately and continue to drive and deliver solutions to your customers. But yeah, in wrapping up, anything that you want to, cover with the crowd and.
I mean, for the most part, it's really, I think, whoever you choose as a freight audit and payment provider, look at them as a partner. Right, and the more you work with them as a partner, the more benefit you're going to get from them. We really like to, on our side, really get to know our customers' business. And so, as you kind of evaluate different options and everything here too, especially as we talk about going forward, where, there's going to be more of a need for analytics and everything else here, be looking at the partnership aspect here to make sure you're going to be close by with them. And I think that's probably just at a high level, kind of one of the big pieces right there too.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thank you, Jeff, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you.